Welcome to the Urban Garden. Today we're working on kale chips, and I'm excited because Scott's coming into the kitchen to share with me his recipe, which are by far, hands down, my favorite recipe for kale chips. They're so good, I give them the blue okay. What is a kale chip? It's like a potato chip, only instead of deep fried potato, you're actually eating a nutritious, delicious green vegetable. Kale, you may have noticed, has sort of grown in popularity over the last few years as a superfood amongst vegetables. And it's really because it is. It's high in vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin C, but it also has calcium in it, which is great for your bones. It has beta-carotene in it, which is an excellent antioxidant. It has iron in it, so Popeye would have approved of our eating of kale chips. It also has carotenoids in it, which help protect the eyes from damage from UV radiation. It also has protein in it, one of the green vegetables that contains protein. So vegetarians, vegans, raw foodists who are worried about getting enough protein in their diet, kale's really an excellent vegetable to introduce more and more into your diet. My favorite way to eat the kale is in kale chips. We select the Blue Vates curly leaf kale or the red Russian kale because it has these nice curly leaves, and when you put those in a dehydrator, they really crunch when you eat them. So you get the satisfaction and texture of a chip. So we're going to pick our kale and a few red bell peppers from the garden, and those are the ingredients I'm told we need to start our kale chips with Scott. So I'm going to come over to our pepper patch here. We have a gorgeous pepper patch, some green bell peppers right in there and some red ones somewhere in here. And we have some banana peppers in here and jalapenos and a few sweet pimento peppers. That's all we need to start our kale chips, so I'll see you in the kitchen.
Hello, my name's Scott, and today I'm in Amy's kitchen here at the Blue OK, and we're going to make kale chips, and Amy's coming in right now with our kale.
Hey Scott.
Hey Amy.
Just picked some fresh kale from the garden, and I'm ready to get your recipe for these chips.
This is beautiful kale. This is Vates kale?
Yeah, it's that Blue Vates curly kale, sometimes called green curly kale.
It makes very good kale chips.
It does.
And the first thing that I want to tell our viewers, and this is a real important part of kale chips, is that you have to de-stem the kale leaves. You have to take this center stem out, because once you begin to dehydrate your chips, this will become very brittle, and you can even stick it in your tongue like a toothpick. So the first thing we have to do is de-stem the kale chips, and if you'll do that for me,
sure,
I'll tell people the ingredients we're using.
Great.
Okay, great. And we're going to use bell pepper. That's one of the most important parts. About 1 bell pepper for each head of kale. It's not an exact science, but that's what I do because peppers come in different sizes. So we're going to use bell pepper, we're going to use cashews that I soaked overnight, we're going to use a little hemp seed because when you combine hemp seed with kale, kale has protein in it, and the combination of the hemp seed and the protein in the kale, it's a real powerful food.
Sure, you get all those omegas and
all the
hemp seed
essential
as
omegas.
well.
I'm also going to use a little bit of balsamic vinegar and some agave nectar and a little bit of nutritional yeast.
For flavor.
For flavor, a little cheesiness, and some lemon juice, of course. And I use about 1 lemon per head of kale. But again, it's not exact, and I want people to experiment when they're in the kitchen with the taste and just follow the basic recipe that I'm giving you. Okay, well, we're going to blend these up, and I think I'll move this aside and move my blender over. Okay, now always the first thing to put in your blender are liquids because that'll make the blade turn easier. So I'll put my vinegar and my lemon juice and my agave. Now what this does is it creates a kind of sweet and sour taste on the kale, and that's what I think makes the kale chips taste so good, and I know you're a huge fan of this recipe, so this will be great. We'll have people all over the world making kale chips. Okay, my liquids are in. Let's turn this guy on. Put some bell peppers. Okay, now you can see the consistency. It's still kind of like a smoothie, like a thick milkshake, but we're gonna make it even thicker when we put it in the bowl here. So.
Scott, I wanted to ask you, when I'm de-leafing the kale, do you cut it into pieces, or do you leave them in large?
No, very good question, Amy. I just leave it large because once the kale begins to dehydrate, you know, it becomes brittle, and they're like chips, and you want the chips as whole as you can get them. So I just leave the pieces large, just like you said. Okay, so let's put this batter in our bowl. It's okay, I got a little curly leaf in here, that's fine. Now I'm going to add the hemp seed to start to thicken it up a little bit.
So you don't blend the hemp seed, you add it
I don't want the hemp
afterwards.
seed to break up.
Right,
I don't want it to become part of the liquid. I want to see that the seeds on my leaves.
Sure, gives it probably more crunch.
Yes, and then a little bit of nutritional yeast for a nice cheesy flavor. That's pretty much it. Let's.
Smells good. My mouth is watering.
Okay, well, you know what? This is the fun part. You just put the kale right inside. Just put it right in. Just put all this kale in here, and then we get to be kids again.
Get in there and get dirty.
Just get dirty.
All
Start
right.
mixing up the kale,
Excellent.
and just let this batter coat your
Coat it all,
chips.
sure.
Just kind of make them wet and almost limp. And it's you know, each person making their chips, they'll find out how much of the flavor they like on their chips. Maybe they'll use a little more agave, or maybe they'll use a little less vinegar. Each person, I highly recommend to find the taste that you like, but this is a pretty good recipe. You might be happy with this. Now, as you can see, the chips are well coated, almost liquidy. And now we'll put them on a tray for our dehydrator.
Okay, I've got one here.
Oh, great. Let's put that tray right there, and we'll put these just like that. You know, they, like you said, they're just big pieces, but when they dehydrate, they're going to break a little bit when you take them off the screen and put them in your container. And I like to have
Shrink a little bit,
they shrink,
probably.
They
yeah.
shrink quite a bit. I just like to have them, you know, big pieces if I can.
Yeah, and you put them right on the screen, not on the.
Those wax sheets that come with your dehydrator,
Right.
no, just put it right,
Right
on the screen, just like that. Okay, we've got one done. That'll work. If you'd hand me a towel there a little bit,
Sure.
I got my hands kind of messy here. That'd be great. Okay, now what you don't know is that I already made a batch of kale chips last night, and they're in the dehydrator. When we put those in, we can take the other ones right out.
Okay, great.
So I'm gonna go over here to the dehydrator, and this is our good batch, and I'll exchange
All right.
for
Oh, wow.
the new fresh batch.
These look
So
wonderful.
we'll put these in the dehydrator, and it takes, you know, it takes anywhere from 12 to 14 hours. I like to dehydrate at about 110, 112.
Right.
And usually I try to make my kale chips in the evening so that the next morning I pull them out of the dehydrator and they're ready. So this is what your kale chips will look like when they come
look
out of
great.
the dehydrator. And let's put them on this
Sure.
nice plate. Now, I know Amy and I are big fans of kale chips. We sit down and eat kale chips whenever we can.
We do. I try not to eat a whole bag at a time.
Try not to eat a whole bag at a time. Yeah, you know, you can go to a health food store and you can buy kale chips, but I highly recommend you make your own. You know, buy them when you need to, make them when you can. That's my motto.
Absolutely.
I'll take that. I think there it is, kale chips.
Beautiful.
Would you, let's have
Oh,
a try.
please.
Crunchy,
Delicious.
delicious. Okay, great.
Still my favorite recipe.
Well, folks, that's it. Kale chips with Scott and Amy. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them here on the website and visit us again soon. We've got a lot of great recipes, Amy specifically, and we'd love to share them with you. Bon
See
appetit.
you soon.